Hey, how you doing? This is Adam Post, publisher of more than 1,000 comic books and marketing expert covering Hollywood panics as higher streaming prices cause massive piracy. Let's get into the story. Before we do, please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. Give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate you guys. The higher that Hollywood raises their streaming prices, the more piracy they get. And now they're freaking out about it. From Breitbart, Hollywood studios panic as piracy rises amid streaming inflation. From Wired.com, The Last of Us was the most pirated show of 2023. A new study shows piracy was up nearly 7% globally last year. At the top of the most pirated list, The Last of Us and Oppenheimer. And from Quartz, Disney Plus and Hulu are losing subscribers as people flock to piracy sites. And also from Quartz, Netflix, Disney, and other Hollywood studios will work with Congress to crack down on digital piracy. From Breitbart, Hollywood studios panic as piracy rises amid streaming inflation, and now they're pushing for site blocking laws. Major Hollywood studios are panicking as video piracy is once again on the rise, with the industry's main lobbying organization demanding that Congress take action against piracy sites that are eating into studio profits at an ever-increasing rate. At CinemaCon in Las Vegas this week, the Motion Picture Association announced it will redouble its efforts to get lawmakers to crack down on the sites in question by pushing for what it called, quote, judicial site blocking legislation, which is intended to disrupt the connection between digital pirates and their intended audience. Quote, this problem isn't new, but piracy operations have only grown more nimble, more advanced, and more elusive, MPA head Charles Rivkin said during his address. These enterprises are engaged in insidious forms of theft, breaking laws each time they steal and share protected content. He said digital piracy costs the industry more than $1 billion at the box office in an average year. Though he didn't say it, the rise in piracy is coinciding with streaming inflation. Prices for services like Disney Plus and Netflix are skyrocketing as overall inflation spurred by the Biden administration continues to hammer households. Many streamers are also jacking up prices to push more consumers to their less expensive ad-supported options, which feature commercial interruptions and are therefore more profitable. And as Breitbart has reported, Disney fans recently saw prices for Disney Plus skyrocket by as much as 75% in just 2 years' time. From Quartz, Disney Plus and Hulu are losing subscribers as people flock to piracy sites. Pirate site visits surged in 2023, topping 229 billion visits. Streaming was supposed to kill media piracy. When services like Netflix and Spotify first popped up, they offered subscribers access to thousands of movies, films, TV shows, and songs, all ad-free for a relatively low monthly fee. But visits to media piracy websites were on the rise in 2023, according to a new industry report by data firm Musso. And as piracy shoots up, streamer subscriber bases are dropping. Services like Disney Plus and Hulu are steadily losing customers, with paid subscriptions down by as much as 7% by the end of the year. Changes in piracy consumption and in the streaming landscape can explain the reported uptick in the practice, which cost the U.S. entertainment industry between $29 billion and $71 billion per year. Quote, it's hard to get people to pay for something that they know they can get for free, said Michael Smith, a professor of information technology and public policy at Carnegie Mellon University. Didn't need a professor to tell you that. A shift from download-based piracy to streaming-based piracy, he added, can mean that consumers are visiting piracy websites more often to access the same media. Musso recorded 229 billion visits to piracy websites in 2023, an increase of 6.7% from the previous year. TV accounted for the most visits at 103 billion, up 4% from 2022. It was followed by film at 29.6 billion visits, with an increase of about 7%. Music piracy saw the highest growth in media pilfering, a 13% increase with 17 billion visits in 2023. One standout reason why piracy is on the rise in exclusive content tied to streaming platforms, according to Musso. A previous survey from the firm finds that, unsurprisingly, people are more likely to pirate media when the movies, shows, or music they're looking for is difficult to access or unaffordable. Users are tired of being forced to sign up for additional streaming services just to gain access to a single film or show they plan to watch. Musso also anticipates piracy to continue to grow as their surreptitious sites become more sophisticated and user-friendly. Quote, piracy audiences, like legal audiences, have continued to adapt and for most media sectors grow, according to the report. Smith also warned that if piracy becomes more prevalent, it will be harder for streamers to keep their subscribers. And streamers are losing their subscribers. The legal streaming industry isn't necessarily helping slow the flow, especially as streamers push up their prices. Netflix, Disney+, Hulu, and Spotify all hiked their rates in 2023, with Netflix and Disney Plus adding ad spots to some of their formerly commercial-free plans in late 2022. Disney Plus and Hulu finished 2023 with a paid subscription loss. Subscribers to Disney Plus fell 7% to 150 million in the 3 months ending December 30th from 160 million, while Hulu subscribers in the fourth quarter fell 3% to 48 million. It wasn't all bad news. Netflix and Spotify gained subscribers in 2023. Paid subscribers to Netflix and Spotify both grew 13% in the fourth quarter to about 260 million and 236 million respectively. Smith acknowledged that lowering prices is not an ideal solution for businesses. Instead, he suggested making it harder for consumers to access piracy websites in the first place. He pointed to regulations in the UK, where piracy website blocking policies gave a 7 to 12% boost to legal subscription sites. And this is their big move. This is what they want to do. Also from Quartz, Netflix, Disney, and other Hollywood studios will work with Congress to crack down on digital piracy. The Motion Picture Association will work with lawmakers to enact site blocking legislation. The Motion Picture Association is working with members of Congress to revive its war against piracy, Association Chairman CEO Charles Rivkin said on Tuesday. MPA members include Hollywood's biggest movie studios like Disney, Netflix, Paramount, Sony, Universal, and Warner Bros. Discovery. Quote, in the U.S. alone, piracy steals hundreds of thousands of jobs from workers and tens of billions of dollars from our economy, including more than $1 billion in theatrical ticket sales, Rivkin said at CinemaCon in Las Vegas during his State of the Industry address at the annual gathering of movie theater owners. The MPA has launched initiatives including the Alliance for Creativity for Entertainment, which works with local law enforcement officials to investigate illegal piracy operations. Now the next phase in the group's battle against piracy is to work with members of Congress to enact judicial site blocking legislation in the U.S. Rivkin said such legislation would allow film, television, music, and book publishers to request in court that internet providers block websites that share illegal or stolen content. In 2012, the MPA backed another proposed site blocking law, the Stop Online Piracy Act, which ultimately failed due to concerns that it would hinder free speech on the internet. Google and Wikipedia opposed the bill. Rivkin's remarks Tuesday quickly received similar backlash. Quote, with today's announcement, the MPA has made its intentions crystal clear. It wants to give itself and its members the power to force any internet infrastructure provider, up to and including the broadband providers that service your home, to cut off access to websites on their say-so alone, according to Meredith Rose, senior policy counsel at the nonprofit Public Knowledge. And the main problem here is that streaming services are just charging too much for the services. From 9 to 5 Mac, subscription streaming spend of average American hits almost $1,000 a year. The subscription streaming spend of the average American is now close to $1,000 per year, according to a new report. While more than half of subscribers have responded to recent steep price increases by canceling at least one of their streaming subscriptions, the overall spend keeps rising. Apple TV Plus was one of the first services to see a price rise back in October 2022, increasing from $4.99 to $6.99, a 40% hike. Disney followed in December with an increase of 25% from $7.99 to $10.99 for Disney Plus Basic. The price was increased again to $13.99. That amounts to a total increase of 75% in less than a year. Hulu pricing was increased at the same time, the ad-free tier rising 20% from $14.99 a month to $17.99 a month. Warner Bros. Increased HBO Max pricing from $15 to $16, and Netflix dropped the Netflix Basic tier from its lineup for new or switching subscribers, more than doubling the effective cost. A report last summer that said streaming TV costs had finally overtaken cable costs, and a new survey spotted by ZDNet says that the average U.S. subscriber now pays close to $1,000 per year. The average American subscriber pays $924 yearly for subscriptions. That's $77 per month. Moreover, 25% of the 5,000 surveyed subscribers pay $100 per month, and 5% pay $200 monthly. But also, 3 further factors are at play here. First, some services have been introducing ads to their basic tiers, pushing people to upgrade. While 57% of subscribers have canceled a subscription due to recent price hikes, 36% have upgraded a subscription after an ad-supported version launched. Second, others have taken the opposite route of removing ad-funded tiers, leaving only more expensive options. Third, Netflix led a trend of streaming services cracking down on password sharing, resulting in more people opening their own accounts. And from Wired, The Last of Us was the most pirated show of 2023. HBO's post-apocalyptic mushroom zombie series, The Last of Us, was easily the network's most popular show of 2023. It averaged just over 30 million viewers per episode, the largest for any series on HBO Max since the final season of Game of Thrones in 2019. However, that per-episode average doesn't fully represent the total number of people who watched The Last of Us. According to research firm Musso, the first season of the show was viewed millions of times more than that. Musso tracks both visits to piracy websites and consumption of various shows and films. For its latest annual report, which it shared with Wired, the firm tracked 730,000 movies and TV episodes and found that The Last of Us amassed 25% of the streams and downloads of the 10 most pirated series of 2023 globally. The next 8 entries in that top 10 are anime series, and the 10th slot belongs to Apple TV's Silo. The Last of Us's blockbuster year also put it ahead of last year's most pirated show, House of the Dragon, which claimed a 17% share of streams and downloads of the 10 most pirated series. Oppenheimer topped the list of most pirated films on Musso's list. Barbie came in 8th, so let it be known that when it comes to piracy, Christopher Nolan won the big Barbenheimer face-off. Other movies on the global piracy top 10 include Avatar: The Way of Water, John Wick Chapter 4, the Super Mario Bros. Movie, and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Piracy's a big business. As a report from Bloomberg pointed out, illegitimate movie and TV streaming services bring in about $2 billion a year from subscriptions and ads. Some of those services have profit margins close to 90%, even as the streaming platforms they're stealing from struggle with profitability, raise prices, and turn to ad-supported models. Asking Andy Chatterley, Musso's CEO, whether it had anything to do with the increasing costs and number of streaming services or perhaps password-sharing crackdowns, he noted that while subscription fatigue plays a role, most piracy is driven by access, whether something is available in your area and whether or not you can afford it. Public perception is that streaming came along and gave people the option to not pirate, but that's not entirely the case. Quote, the reality is a lot of people have one streaming platform, maybe 2, but not all of them, according to Chatterley. Quote, the thing about piracy is, it's really just people wanting to consume content. They're not doing it for the act of piracy. They're being driven by marketing on other things that drive legal consumption. Think about The Last of Us. It was a cultural zeitgeist show, but Max isn't really available outside the US. The show airs in the UK, for example, via Sky, and is available for purchase through Amazon Prime Video and other services, but those can look like obstacles when pirate streams exist. Shows and movies now jump from service to service at headache-inducing levels, and illegal streaming sites often become the most surefire way to find content. Some of the most pirated anime shows are available on services like Hulu and Crunchyroll, but for years piracy was the best way to access anime outside of Asia. Also, anime often lands on legal streaming services after its initial air date in Asia, by which point it's already been available on the pirate sites. Musso's anime numbers show something else: the intense demand for this type of content that can only be measured through piracy data on a worldwide basis because it's not widely available legally. Movies are different. Demand for them tends to spike shortly after release, after which it falls off. The second half of 2023 showed a 24.6% decrease in film piracy compared to the first half. Largely, Musso estimates, because there were fewer blockbuster releases in the second half of the year. In this case, even though the films are available in theaters, going to the movies is still too costly for some, so piracy becomes the next best option. More than anything, Musso's findings show that, despite hopes to the contrary, streaming didn't stop piracy. Paying for all the services out there has become almost as expensive as paying for the cable networks that torrenters were trying to get around almost 20 years ago. Piracy is normal now and shows no sign of slowing down. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. Always love to see your ideas. Please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications, give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you again soon with another story. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.